Welcome to today's session of the Tech Force Connect podcast. I'm Dr. Finn, the founder of F&F Group and also the convener of the Tech Force Connect conference and podcast. So today we're going to be talking about some of the fun stuff that we're seeing with regards to what's happening around us. And today I have a friend and a brother today speaking with me. With over 300 plus thousand followers, a TEDx stage speaker, a personal brand expert that is distinct in not just his name alone, but his concept. And everyone knows him as Non-Fungible Frank. He comes from a world of story, design, personal brand, while I come from a world of system, operations, and process. But we're solving the same problem. Why do talented people stay stuck? Because that's what we're struggling with. You see a lot of people, they have the expertise, they have the depth, but they're not able to turn that into value. And that's the conversation that we all know is long overdue. So Frankie Kemefuna, welcome to the Tech Force Connect podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, brother. Such a pleasure. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. So we're going to jump right in. So you've built a brand on being non-fungible, Frank, which is irreplaceable. But before the brand was clear, before you got 300,000 plus people resonating with the topics, your storytelling, the ideas, and feel motivated to actually impact their lives, was there a version of Frankie Kemefuna that felt very fungible, replaceable, probably overlooked, or could be interchangeable that made you think that you need to evolve into this new person?
Good question. So I would say when it comes to believing in yourself and the stuff that you are made of, I would say that I had a very early start. As a kid, I used to, I used to shine. Right, I was gifted at so many things. I was incredible at football. I was a straight A student. I was in the drama department, like always collecting the leading roles. I was the star boy of the literary and debating society. Cultural dance. I was there. All right, so. I used to drum, I used to dance. I knew how to sing, but that was one thing that I kept to myself that nobody knew until I was like way older. Now, what am I saying in essence? At that point in time, I was already well on my way, when it came to, having confidence or that belief that I feel like I'm different from everybody else. I've always had that my entire life, But there was a time, 2018 and the year 2021, 22, thereabouts. I passed through a phase that made me really doubt, whether I was different or say special as I thought that I was. It was a very humbling period for me, very humbling episode where a lot of things that I had the intention of doing, a lot of things that I applied myself to just didn't work, and that was very strange for me because coming from my own background, I'd always excelled at everything. So I didn't know how to handle not excelling at something or being disappointed that my effort did not amount into something stellar, something incredible, right? So I could not. So it was a very dark episode. Then, I feel like the ripple effect, also was exemplified in my health, right? I was diagnosed with clinical anxiety, chronic clinical anxiety. It was really bad. So I was in a perpetual state of worry. So also points to the fact that I didn't know how to handle that phase, that episode that I was, But I'm glad, grateful to God that I was able to transition from that period. I became wiser, became smarter, and gradually that confidence and that belief came back, you know. And now it's like it's in tenfold. I know for sure, that I believe that we're all different, we're all unique in our own way. But I think that most people have not found out or discovered their unique, value proposition. So I think it's why when they see people who have found theirs, who have found the thing that separates them from the rest of the bunch, they gravitate towards those people because it's like, I see in you that which I cannot replicate in myself, So, but I strongly believe we all have this distinct quality, even for those who are meant to assist the go-getters. There's still something very different about them. They just need to discover and lean into it, So I would say that that gap, that period was the only time where I felt like, yeah, I'm not sure anymore. That period dealt a huge blow to my self-esteem and my self awareness, my belief system at that point in time. But I'm glad it's all in the past now. Yeah.
What keeping aside for me is that everyone has a distinct vibe.
Mm.
Being
Mm.
able to identify that helps you to be able to replicate it or be able to spread that to people around you and become how you contribute to the world. So let's divert a little bit. You won the NSC BS class rap competition in 2017. You alluded gradually about saying, okay, there's a hidden talent in the music space you've never
Yeah.
really talked about. But most people have taken that as a creative win. Take that, oh, I've won in this area, let's move on. Instead, you moved completely 360 and you turned it into a philosophy about intentional design. What did
Yeah.
you see in that room that others missed that made you jump? Because it's literally like a leap from one end to an extreme end.
Yeah. So this rap thing self was not something that I did. It wasn't something that I grew up saying, "Oh, my dream is to become a rapper." That was never the case. In fact, I started rapping as a dare. Someone dared me. He wrote some rap lyrics, and I used to listen to a lot of rap songs. So he wrote some rap lyrics, and then he started rapping. And I'm like, I don't rap. Oh. I listen to a lot of rap, and I know that this thing that you just wrote is trash. Like, it's not great. It's not great rap. And it's like, I have no authority whatsoever to critique what he has done if I can't do it as well. That he would only respect the opinions of fellow rappers. And I'm like, okay, I'll go and write something that is better than this. And then it's like, okay. And then I went to, so I was in the university. I was in 300 level. 300 level. I'm like, okay. And then I went to the reading room and I went to write out these lyrics and then came back. The lyrics were evidently better than what he wrote. Now, they were not great, but they were better than what he wrote. So I rapped those things and then he said, no, that can't be my my lyrics, that I must have lifted it somewhere. So I told him I'll write another one in his presence. Right. So I wrote another one in his presence, and that was how guys around were like, "This is good, man. This is good." And that was how rap started for me. So it was easy to drop rap. You understand? It was easy to drop rap. It wasn't a thing wherein I envisioned myself saying, look, I have to be the greatest rapper in the world and all of it. It was never really like that. So even the competition that I won were thousands who put in for that competition, the rap competition, and I won that because I used to be very competitive. So it wasn't necessarily about the art form in itself. It was just a couple of variables aligning in this, my competitive self. Just saying, okay, I'm in a competition, I have to win. So I put in all of my effort to ensure that I won. So the winning, in as much as I was very good and I knew that I was better than everybody else, it was not a thing of, I'm doing this because it's my calling or something. I just wanted to show that I could rap and that I could rap better than everybody else. Right? So it was easy to drop that. But you see, one thing that has been a constant in everything that I have done is a lot of thought and intentionality. So I would not do something just for its sake. I cannot. Anything that I have to put my name on, anything that I have to present that I did, you have to look at it and see that a lot of thought has gone into it. I pride myself in that a lot. So that has sustained across different things that I have done in life. Be it copywriting, be it writing lyrics, rapping, writing music, all of these things. A lot of thought and intentionality. So that you hear it and be like, a lot of thought went into this, right? So a part of me had always known that whatever it is that I find myself doing, I know that I will not do it in the way that everybody else is doing it. I always knew that there will be there will just be that distinct feature, right, that will indicate that a lot of thought went into this. So now that I found myself in this space, right, where, I'm serving as advisory and counsel and a consultant, to companies, to individuals, I realized that thought or that deep thought and intentionality that used to be a feature that I used to add to the different ventures that I went into was actually my calling. All right, was actually my calling. So now, if you ask me in a nutshell, Frank, what do you do for a living? I think. you understand? So you ask, what do I think? So it's I think that's how it was easy for me to go from that place to here, right? Because there had always been that thing, that salient ideology pushing me across without my consciousness even, that had been pushing me to get to this point.
Wow.
So that's how it happened.
Wow, great. Because this is what we call your unique selling point. Because a lot of time people think is the niche, is the industry. No, it's your differentiation that you take along with you, irrespective of the industry, the concept, the topic. People are able to see you as different and valuable. And a lot of people that are seen that are talented or experts, when you ask them the same question of how did you start doing something, it always comes from something unserious, like then I just randomly saw something that I felt was not good enough, so I'm like, let me do something better. And a lot of time it's inbred. And give you a story, my younger son didn't learn how to ride a bicycle. Basically, he was using training wheels, and then he just came to me and said, take out my training wheel. Like, no, but you don't know how to ride. And he's like, no, you can ride a bicycle. I'm like, you can't ride. I'm going to take it off before, then I'm going to put it. They just took the bicycle. I started riding it. Till today, nobody taught it. And that's how we learned a lot of things. He just these people for long, understands it, and he comes to you and he starts doing something you never taught him. He's a visual learner. Puts deep thoughts. So I call people like that non-traditional learner. They don't see flow. Let me go read the book. Let me understand the theoretical concept, and then let me look at other people doing. No, they just go straight to what are the steps I need to go to, and let me take my mental model that works in any other thing I'm doing and just apply it. And that's a gift that a lot of people do not realize.
Yeah, true. True. I mean, I 100% agree with you in that regard because again, I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are doing brilliant things, of which you are among. And from our conversations, I've seen how it works. But I think there's a dimension to this thing that has to do with awareness.
True.
So we live in a very noisy world, right? Very noisy world, wherein it's very easy for that noise to drown out what is unique about you, because I realize every time I ask people, like, okay, how did you realize that you could do this? It's not like it's not like somebody called you and said, oh, try this, or somebody nudged you, or like, how did you know you could solve this kind of problem? How do you know you could approach things this way? And I find out that for a lot of people, they will tell you, I was just looking inwards and then I found something. So a lot of my understanding of how the world works and how humanity functions, a lot of how I, like my belief system concerning that is founded upon theology. I get a lot of insight from the Bible and from learning about God. And one of the things that I've come to understand is that there is an underlying blueprint that exists in every human being, right? So how do I describe this now? There is this kind of paint. So if you use that paint on the canvas,
Yeah.
right, instead of just blending with the canvas, it kind of sticks out. It sticks out, so you can feel it. If you close your eyes and you run your palm on the canvas, you will feel it.
Yeah.
Right? So the way that I think about this thing is, when we are born, there is that painting that already exists on the canvas, right? Now, the painting has been done with the kind of paint that sticks out, that you can feel it. But the moment we are born, right, the environment comes with its own paintbrush, paints on it. But they are not using the same paint that came with the canvas. They are using the regular paint that blends with the paper, right?
Yeah.
But they just come and paint upon it. So the environment comes, paints upon it. The father comes, paints. The mother comes, paints. Your siblings or your peer group, they come, they paint. Your school, they paint. Just painting over this thing. So after the whole painting, if you run your hand on the canvas, you will still feel the roughness and the texture of the original paint, because that one is different. It sticks out.
Yeah.
So you can feel it. But if you are just looking at it from the exterior, you won't be able to get what the original painting was, because people have come to paint different things over it. So the only way to find out what the original painting was is to actually feel it differently. So it goes beyond sight. Now you have to run your palm on that canvas and try to trace out the shape or what it is that was drawn in that canvas. That's the way that I look at it. So there's something that has already been deposited, like this one. What do they call it? Follow come.
Original intention.
And then people, your environment, your family, school, religion, all of these things just come and gloss over. So it will require the individual going deep, trying to sidestep or bypass all of the paintings that people have done over this canvas and try to find out the original thing, So, for a lot of people that I've seen doing incredible and remarkable stuff, there has been a point in their lives where they had, I don't want to call it an existential crisis, but there has been a point in their life where they had to question everything. For some, for some, what led them to that realization was maybe a spiritual awakening for some. For some others, it was a crisis. For some, they hit rock bottom, wherein there was nowhere to go anymore. So it's like, now I have to find out what really works, So different people have different modules or different, ways of arriving there. But you must arrive there to begin to probe and find out what the original design was, But because we live in a noisy world, social media will come and tell you, can't you see the painting on this canvas? This is what it says. This is what school painted for you. This is what your original design must be. See what religion painted for you. This is what your original design must be. Oh, your parents painted this. This is what your original. But they can't come close to feel the canvas, to trace out the original shape. They can't do that. You have to do that by yourself. So for every time that I ask guys and I'm like, how did you arrive at it? They'll tell me stuff like, or more. There was one point in my life where nothing could satisfy me. I knew that something was wrong. So I needed to disconnect from everything and start to go within and all of that. So it's something that I've realized, if you're able to detach from the noise and start to probe inwards, you see it.
I can go over, give you stories for days of every new direction, new accomplishment came at a point of self-realization and inner hunger for something different. Not that what you had wasn't working, but it was, you were not satisfied with that level, that direction. You felt there was more to do, or you felt you had more capacity that you needed to exert to be able to get to a new level. So I know you have a question for me on this topic with regards to origin and identity.
Yeah. Now, you went from advising, multinational corporations, right? You went from that dimension, to building a cleaning company, right? In the home service industry, of course, spanning across multiple cities, but I feel like it's worlds apart. Or I mean, I know that you think in systems from the interactions that we've had. I know you think in systems. So systems can be replicated. But, the dimensions, right, of these two, or these two focal areas, what made you decide to be transparent about building something so grounded, building something so different from what people have come to identify you with?
Yes, so my background originally has always been still technology. How do people, process, system, tools all work together to help solve business problems? And it falls into three categories. Either we're trying to help them make money, help them save money, help them save time so that they can utilize either the money they've made or the money they've saved or the time they've had for something else that can help the business grow. And even in multinationals, it's still the same concept, just that you're doing it in a larger sphere, which means that the impact is wider. However, even though the impact is wider, the humanity in it is lower. Why? Because you're doing something that is helping a conglomerate make more money. Yes, they're going there in it. But when you look at small and medium business, every dollar, every time saved is more time the business person can spend growing the business or with family. Every money made, it's more comfort for that business owner. Every money saved is more opportunity to grow. And how did I stumble to the claim? So my wife is in the health and safety phase, that was her background, and we saw a gap. As an health and safety manager, you couldn't really find a lot of companies that could meet health and safety code at that level that a multinational would be happy and a small office or a store or a single store would also be happy. That there's not a system that is scalable irrespective of this situation. And when we started looking into it, if you see a gap, which comes from the conversation we had about you feeling like, oh, there's more to this.
Yeah.
Why don't we solve that problem? And solving that problem isn't about how best you clean. Because you cannot patent a cleaning floor. This is the best way to clean.
Yeah.
So what can you do? You can build a system that is scalable. At a company that is making $1,000 a month cleaning and a company that is delivering $30,000 to $100,000 a month will be able to operate with visibility and also be able to add value to the organization. So what does that mean? We now had to build it first for us, saying, okay, we're saying there's a gap. We're saying there's no system. Why don't we build this system? And we built it from scratch, started the company from scratch. Nobody else's client, looks for every client, built their lead acquisition process, built the onboarding process, build the delivery of service process. And then as you scale, you now require that, okay, you need to build visibility so you are not having to be in 5 tents, 20 locations, 30 locations across cities at the same time, because you cannot replicate yourself. But you can replicate your process. You can replicate your systems. Replicate the experience for the customer. Because that's the key thing. If the client in a different city feels the same way, if the worker going to 5 workers going out on the same day can go to 5 different places, and each client will have the same expectation. They know when the person is coming, know how they will deliver the service, know how payment will work, know how to book again, know how to be retained, have a feedback loop to not just make sure the person has a great experience, make the person remember to come back or to share their experience with you so you can constantly grow. So it wasn't something born out of, I want to build a career, born out of complaining and having a conversation to say, hey, there is a gap. And since she understood how to build the operations for it, and I understood how to build systems, and I've done it for enterprise organizations and even taking startups from being the first product employee to over 20, 30 employees, and not just building products or softwares or tools, building the people that build the products and deliver the service. They said, let's bring it away from the software industry and test the same approach in the service industry and see if this will cut across. Then how we've been able to grow this to 15 plus staff across multiple cities. And to apply just the same principle to other service businesses or even non-service businesses, like real estate business owner or coaches, physiotherapists, even other software development agencies that understand how to build, but do not build for others. Because a lot of times people think it's the same approach you use to build a system for your business, the same approach you use to build for a client. Because there's proximity bias, which is you're so close to it that you do not even see the loopholes in your process. So it's something that you need to be able to understand, build the operating procedure or SOPs, as we like to call it, apply it. And that's how I've gradually now been pulled away to not be the tech guy that can solve enterprise problems, to be the guy that can help business owners be able to scale or help individuals to be able to discover the system, the process that will help them be successful in their personal life and their businesses and all of that. And seeing people coming to you say, hey, I've been able to purchase a car, buy a house, put down payment for mortgage. There was that feeling of satisfaction that is different from we're able to save the company $2 million or
Yeah.
$5 million. That, hey, this person just talked about how they were able to spend more time with their kids. Their business is able to cater for their expenses.
That's deep. That's deep. That's deep. I'll ask you a follow-up question. Right? I'll ask you a follow-up question because I would have waited till later, but you touched upon it, so I would want you to flog it out, right? So, what do people or operators, what do they try to systemize that cannot or shouldn't be systemized? Or where does the system end and human judgment begin? Because you touched upon, building systems and how you replicate systems across ventures, right? So there's I've realized from like having conversations and all of that, when it comes to systems thinking, most people fall into either of these two categories. Either they don't even understand what systems thinking is, or they do not know what to systemize. Right? They don't know what to systemize and what to be creative about. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me.
Yeah. So when we talk about systems basically is the way you get something done repeatedly or consistently. So before you can do something in a consistent manner, you have to do it the first time and be able to identify the steps you used to do. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong, because we are trying to be creative without actually determining the box of your creativity.
Yeah, the ramifications of it.
Of your creativity. So let's say you are an electrician, a blue-collar job electrician company or a lawn mowing company. What's your process for how you book clients? Okay, they call me, I call them, or they email me, I contact them, get details. Do you come visit the site before you give them a quote? Or do they send you pictures and you bill per hour? What's your process? You have to have identified it before you now say, this is my system for how I book clients. So the biggest gap I see is people not identifying where they are experts. Because and a lot of time, and not just where you're experts in, identify within those things that I'm an expert, what are people willing to pay me or give me money to solve? Because the fact that you're good at something doesn't mean people want it as a service. So if you have identified the value, which is what I'm good at and people want to pay me for, that's what we call value. And now you now say, this is the service I want to offer to people. And I know my target audience, which is the people that want that service and are willing to pay for it. So that's another part we confuse. The fact that people are engaging with you, talking to you, saying they want it, doesn't mean they're going to pay you for it.
True.
So you need to have had all of this figured out in the business or the service that you are offering. So now say, okay, now these are the steps within my business. I need to attract, I need to qualify, I need to onboard, I need to deliver the service. And then you can now take each of those steps and then break it further down. That way, let's say, how do I get clients? I run ads to get clients. So what's your system for how you run ads? Is it Facebook? Is it Meta ads? Is it Google ads? Or I'm using influencers. What's your system for it? I'm onboarding you, I'm booking clients. What's your step-by-step process? And this is something I picked up for one of Alex Moses' training, and he says it a lot, which is for a lot of business people, have 15 minutes calendar time in your day. If you don't know what are the things you do in your business, just set a clock 15 minutes, every 15 minutes all through your working hours. And every 15 minutes, yes, distracting is annoying, but write down what you did the last 15 minutes. And you realize that you actually have a system that is built in your muscle memory that even you do not realize.
You are just unaware of it.
You are just unaware of it. And now you now document it, because that is where now you now bring in technology. There's a tool that helps you do it fast. You say, this is how we do it. Until you have that in place, you cannot replicate yourself. Replication of yourself is literally hiring. The reason why companies hire is because they want to replicate their service delivery, which is if 5 people go to 5 different locations to deliver a service, the quality will not drop. Just as if it was the founder or the business owner that goes to deliver. We talk about systems, talking about how do you get the work done? From someone getting to know you, to you delivering the service, and then coming back again. What are the step-by-step process? What can people, process, and technology help you solve so that you, as the business owner, can focus on scaling the business? Because one of the things when you do this type of mental work, it's hard, helps you realize is that you spend 80% of your time doing things that someone else can do, or you shouldn't even be doing at all. And that's the principle of the 80-20 rule.
80-20 Pareto principle.
80% of the things you're doing is giving 20% of value, and that 20% of the value is giving 80%. And because you're busy, you think that you are adding value, you are solving problems. And that's where your system helps you now tell your brand story. You're like, this is our story of how we deliver service. And that way people or possible or potential customers can put themselves in your system. Say, okay, if I book your service, this is the experience I will get. And if it does not match the experience they get, that's where problem comes in.
That's where there's a disconnect.
False advertisement. That was not what you told me.
Yeah.
And this, as much as is a two-edged sword, it's actually the most powerful type of marketing.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned this, because one of the most frequently asked questions, right, that I face is, Frank, how can I think like you? You know, like a lot. It's like, how are you able to think? How can I replicate this? And I can give you a system that brings about how I am able to, what's the word now? How I'm able to arrive at the product that people are seeing. But I am unable to show people the system of the ideation in itself. I don't know if you understand me. So it's a thing wherein
to you.
Yeah. So it's a thing wherein
your own ideation pattern.
Yeah. So it's a thing wherein, Frank, I see your videos. I see how you extract depth from everyday phenomenon, and the way you break it down and all of that. Like, how can I do something like that? I can give you a system for how to do that. How to, extract these things, break down the process of, interpolation, or juxtaposing. This looks like this. This looks like this. So ultimately, if I bring these two together, I should be able to arrive at this. What I cannot seem to teach, or what I don't seem to understand, is how to see these things in the first place. Let me give you an example. Say for instance, motion sensor doors, right?
Yeah.
Now, a motion sensor door, you need to keep walking towards it in faith that there is something about your movement that will ensure that the door opens, right?
True.
So if I say something like that, let's say I believe that that's how life works, wherein in as much as this opportunity still looks like the doors are closed to you and it's inaccessible, you must keep pressing towards it, trusting that there is something about your movement that will allow that opportunity to open up for you, right? Now, I have just explained something now, and people will be able to say, Frank, man, this and that. What I cannot seem to teach is how I'm even able to see the possibility of that by just looking at a motion sensor door. That's what I cannot explain.
True.
So, and that is the very thing that people are asking for. Like, how can I rewire my brain to be able to see these things that you see in the first place? We already see how you explain it. That's fine. But how can we train our minds to see these things? That area is where I have the most challenges. You know?
Yeah. So that's where the unique perspective comes in, because you have grown into finding your patterns, be able to string it along. And one of the mistakes I see a lot of experts, and I have made it too, so it's not a situation, is trying to find a shortcut of someone else's defined, tested model that they have built muscle memory for, to short circuit you doing the work that is needed for you to find your own pattern. Right. So I'll tell you a story. And then we'll do a quick segue into design thinking. I worked in a company where I'd switched from dealing with a lot of technical people to now moving to a lot of business leaders.
Yeah.
Don't understand jargon. All the technical people loved me, but now I was spending a lot of time talking to VP CEOs and all of that. And this is me that's also spent a lot of time in the academic space, so was spending hours going into concepts and dealing with professors and grammars and all of that for years because of my background in tech. So even though I understood the concept and the technicals that were building it, they loved me because I was the only guy that could speak their language. So guess what? The business guys are like, we are talking over our head.
Yeah.
One that needs to sign the check. So if we don't get it, they're telling us to trust you blindly with a lot of money. So I had a very good friend. Her name is Mona, the top executive now in one of the banks in Canada. And like, okay, I know you get it, but let's spend time just praying. We did that for over a year. And after that, it helped me unlock another side of me that I had. But because I was using muscle memory in technicalities, I didn't want to expand on my business ability to discuss complex concepts in everyday language that a 5-7-year-old will understand.
Yeah.
And after I unlocked that, I was able to do it. I did not do it because I wanted to use that skill set to impact anybody. I did it because my role at that time required me to do it. But after that, I moved more into more client-facing leadership roles, where I had to spend 90% of my time talking to business people.
Yeah.
And because of that system that I was able to build painfully, by the time opportunities started coming, and I even started moving more into teaching non-tech people that wanted to move or transition into tech, already knew how to use analogies, concepts that are comfortable for them to be able to explain concepts or explain technical things and bring them into my world without them feeling lost. But I had to go through this painful experience of doing it every week, painstakingly for over a year. And that is that process that I see a lot of people, especially. And we had a conversation, I started to say, okay, let me talk about certain areas within the tech space. Right. And we had a conversation. Groomed myself to have long conversation. Now I need to go through another stage of learning again, which is how am I able to take this, my 1 hour lectures to 3 hours concept lectures, like people excited, motivated, learning and growing and changing their businesses and their careers to how do I turn it into nuggets of 1 to 3 minutes. The reason I was able to think in that approach is the fact that I have gone through this circle of realizing that for new type of situations that I need, I might need to build new muscle and capacity rather than lashing on someone else's already defined strengths. And the same thing, I also get a lot of people who have done preparation for interviews with people trying to get and coach them also businesses, and they're like, oh, can you just, I wish I can just bring you into the interview to just say it for me. I wish I can just have you to come solve the problem. I'm like, okay, if I solve today's own, who solves the one for 6 months, 1 year time? So you need to be able to stay in uncomfortable situations to build capacity. So let's jump into design thinking. So you used to use a phrase called design like God. You have also spoken directly about rest being part of the framework of productivity. A lot of people think that, and I had to learn to rest because I felt there was so much to do. And people think that not wanting to rest is a badge of honor for hardworking people. And rather, resting for me, which is even worse, not even just a badge of honor, was I reward myself after an accomplishment with rest. So if I do not get to the end goal, we keep moving. But God rested on the 7th day. And the president will say he does not need the rest. So rest shouldn't be from exhaustion. It should be to complete a cycle. How do you now apply this principle into systems, into how we build, into how we live, and even how we interact with people?
Rest in itself is an integral part of the framework of productivity. All right. So I honestly, all of these things, when I look at it, I blame hustle culture. Right? It's the hustle culture that will let you no rest until you get the job done. All of that. Meanwhile, that wasn't the original design. The original design was rest is embedded in the process. Right? So it's like you should actually fix resting periods in the same way that you fix appointments, in the same way that you fix meetings, and then you follow through. So hustle culture has made it look like you have to earn rest by completing a task. But what that just does is that it makes you operate from a place of exhaustion. You see, I was studying the life of a lion. There have been so many arguments as to why the lion is the king of the jungle. It's not the strongest, it's not the fastest, it's not like it does not have the most devastating bite force. It doesn't run, a pack as coordinated as that of the wolves or the hyenas. Do you understand? Is there really is not, it's not size, it's not, what exactly is it? You know. So I started to really study the lion. And you know what I found out? If you observe a lion for most of the day, you will call a lion extremely lazy. Like extremely lazy. That's what you will call a lion. Because lion spends the larger chunk of the day sleeping. This no be nap or the nap or siesta. Proper sleep for hours on end. There's very minimal dissipation of energy for the lion. The only activities that the lion deploys its energy into is mating and hunting. Finish. See, a lion doesn't hang around, let's stroll and just observe and all of that. The lion is not concerned with all of that. If I'm not hunting and I'm not mating, I'm somewhere sleeping or about to sleep, or I just woke up. You understand? So in my mind, I'm thinking, so how is this the king of the jungle? And then I started to observe. I started to think about it. I'm like, so I said, okay, let me then go into the activities that take up a lion's energy. Let me come and understand what it really means. I first looked at a lion's mating routine. Do you know that lions can mate up to 100 times in a week? The lionesses are very demanding sexually. Very, very demanding. To the point that if the lion refuses to cooperate, she will attack the lion. She will attack the lion. So if you look at a creature that mates close to 100 times in a week, it means that there has to be a way that the lion conserves energy so that the lion is able to meet with the physical demands, that is embedded in its, living experience. I also looked at how a lion hunts. You see, a lion may not necessarily have the stamina to hunt for long. So the lion hunts in short bursts of energy. But that period that it is hunting, that short burst of energy, it is extremely ruthless. Very, very tunnel visioned, very focused. And it doesn't just hunt arbitrarily. It will take its time and it has observed its prey almost to the point of certainty that this one, I've observed you, there's no way you are getting out of here. Then it will attack its prey with ruthlessness, right? So, and that takes like a lot of energy, because it's like, if I don't get this animal right now, if I can't kill this prey, I can't eat, and I don't have enough energy to be hunting for hours. I just have this short burst of energy to quickly attack, eat, and go back to my resting place, right? So I looked at it. I saw the way the mating life and the hunting life, and I'm like, aha, no wonder. This is why it sleeps a lot. This is why it rests a lot, because in those moments where it has to dissipate energy, there's no excuse. The activities that require it dissipating energy are they require a high level of energy dissipation, ruthless dissipation of energy. So the lion needs a lot in its energy reserve. That's when these things I started to understand. Okay, so this is why. Now, what does that translate to in the life of like a high achieving young individual like yourself, like myself, it means that you must define with certainty the things that require your energy dissipation. A lot of us have not defined these things. It's a thing of, oh, okay, they said these things. Let's look into it. Let's run out. Somebody says something against, let's run out. You are already channeling your energy into places that don't necessarily fit into your original design. As human beings, we are not meant to do a lot of things. Sincerely speaking, we are not designed to do a lot of things. We are designed to do a few things and do them very well. If you look now, you see, when they were describing, the evolution of man from a scientific standpoint, they talked about the caveman who was involved in hunting and gathering. Just two things. Nothing, hunt and gather. That's all. So that means that there has to be, like, what you are supposed to deploy your energy into has been properly defined and articulated. So you know that anything outside of hunting and gathering is already a waste of my energy. The problem that we have right now is that, again, hustle culture. Someone brings this, let's look into this, you look into it. Someone brings that, you look into it. You are now looking into multiple things, whereas you are only designed to focus into two things or thereabouts. My mentor always tells me, he says, I'm not doing a lot of things. So I say I'm only involved in two things, but those things are connected to one thing, because he's a pastor. So he says that the only two things that three things, but they are all connected to one thing, right? So he says the three things that demand his attention, or that he channels energy into: family, purpose, and money. He said family, purpose, and money. And those three, he has designed them under God. So it means that, so what he says is, when he needs to find out more about his purpose, he goes to meet God, the source. So he will get more insight into his purpose from God. If he wants to learn how to run his family well or run his family better, he will go to what God says concerning family and go and study that. If he wants to, money, this and that, he will go into economic principles from scripture. And then he said, so what that does is that it concentrates his energy within a defined domain. So he said, outside of those things, he doesn't really go outside of those things to go and look for things. He just gets insight from one source and deploys it into these three things, right? So, and you find out that a lot of people who are high flyers, high achievers, are not doing a lot of things. Now, if you look at their portfolio or you look at their CV, you will see a lot of things. Oh, he's into real estate, he's also into oil and gas. It is not true. They are only doing one thing, or at most two. But they have gotten as much influence in those few things that they are doing that they can use the integrity that they have built in that area to institute partnerships in other industries, right? So, someone who has cut his teeth in credit facilities, for instance, in the financial institution, can decide to partner with a real estate company by giving them subsidized, credit facilities. So In return, maybe every 10 houses that you build, I own one. Right? So say for instance, at the end of the year, they build 100, you have 10. You can then come out and say you are into real estate. Meanwhile, you don't know how much they sell cement. You don't know how all of that. But on paper, you have 10 properties within a locale or a location. And nobody is going to doubt at that point in time because now you have something tangible to. But what they do not understand is that you never went there in the first place. Every morning when you wake up, you are going to the one thing that you know how to. So I think that's what it means to operate from a place of rest. So rest is the underlying framework, right? Wherein you are not under pressure from this whole hustle culture to be running around and be doing all of these things. You know what it is that you are required to do. It's like a video that I put out, the video I put out yesterday, where I was talking about how in a football match, right, the cumulative period that a player holds the ball or is in touch with the ball out of 90 minutes, it's around 2.5 minutes out of that 90. The remaining period, he is moving, observing, looking at where the ball is, trying to open himself up for a pass and all of those things, right? But if you look at a football match, 90 minutes long, you would think that the player was with the ball for the entire 90 minutes. It's not true. So it's only on very few occasions throughout the game that the ball actually touched the player's leg, and that's really how it is with work. The work that we are doing, it's only on very few occasions that you make very, very high-end decisions that can change the trajectory of your work or your company or your establishment. It's only on very few occasions. The rest is routine. The rest is routine. Every day you come, you resume, you do this. Every day you come, you do this. Every day you come, you do this, right? It's only on few occasions that you make altering decisions that just, change the landscape. So it's a thing wherein if you have come to understand how these things work, you've come to understand your framework, your system, you just operate from that dimension. There is no need to rush. There's no haste, nothing like that. You are just in a place where you are just doing the routinely duties, building capacity gradually, the routinely duties, and an opportunity will come after a while, an opening for you to strike. That's when you can then apply serious pressure, knowing that you are not going to do that for an extended period of time. It's a short window, an opportunity. You hammer ruthlessly and then you retreat to your place of rest, right? That's my understanding of how to,
The lion analogy just blew my head, because when people look at lions, we all know that from a strength perspective, speed perspective, none of it.
I'm not hearing you well, please.
Yeah, I said when we look at the lion, we all know that if it's about strength, they are not number one. Speed, size, we know they are not number one. They are not even the fastest.
Yeah.
But no, I've never really looked at why they rest a lot.
Yeah.
But now I think that even in the activities they get involved in, they make sure that they're putting in their best.
Exactly.
So it's not about the amount of time, which still falls back to the parental life. It's not the amount of work you are doing.
Yeah.
It's the amount of value in the work that you are doing.
Yeah. And it begins to redefine what hard work means.
Yes.
Look at me, for instance, now. The entirety of my waking hours, I'm working, but it does not look like it. If you are looking at it through the lens of hustle culture, you would never believe that I'm working, because I can sit like this and just be looking, and then I pick up my phone, type something into my notes, and then I sit again. I can be in that state for like 6 hours. Just I might even see a movie in between. I might watch a podcast on YouTube in between. I might watch a skit in between. And you will look at it like, this guy is just wasting time. Like, what? But for me, it's serious work, because I'm not watching these things for entertainment. My mind is open. I'm searching for symbolism and patterns everywhere. So it's work. So it's why when people say, Frank, how do you know these things that you know? I'm like, my mind is always open. I'm always engaged. When people say things like, it's not that deep, me, I've lost the ability to say something like that. Everything is deep for me. Everything is deep for me. I don't enjoy movies in the way people enjoy it. So you can watch movies and be entertained and all of that. I'm looking for symbols. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for something that is said that will link into something else. I'm always looking for the dots, how the dots connect. That kind of mindset cannot enjoy the movie, because you're always probing, searching for some. So it's it's the curse of pattern recognition. You cannot enter into anything from a light-hearted perspective. You must be 100% engaged in every single thing. Let me tell you something, brother. Do you know where I do my best work? My best work is when there is no syllabus, there is no framework, there's nothing, right? You need my perspective on something, and you come to meet me. I have no idea of what it is that you're about to tell me, but you need me to give you solution in the moment. That's where I do my best work. You know why? Because I have trained my mind to be very engaged into everything, right? So even when people are cracking jokes around me, I might laugh, but my mind has been trained to look for meanings inside everything, right? So when someone comes to me and says, Frank, I need your perspective concerning something, right? That's where in my head, my mind is like, yes, let's go. My mind is like, let's go. And instantly, the moment you start speaking, I promise you, brother, the moment you start speaking, it's like my antenna comes out and it's just scanning everything that you are saying, looking for patterns, symbolism, how it connects into something else, how it connects into something. It's why on the spot I can draw out analogies. The conversation we're having earlier, where I talked about the painting on the canvas, and the different types of paint. I've never talked about it before. I've never thought of it before in my entire life, right? I've never thought of it in my entire life. As I was speaking, the pattern just came, and it just no. But you see, the thing about it is that to get to that point, there are things that you must have exposed there are routines that guide things like that. For me, the routine that enhances that kind of thinking is exposure to a wide range of information and knowledge. So it's why for somebody like me, I can be, in as much as I do content and I put out content and discourage people from doom scrolling. Doom scrolling helps me. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Doom scrolling helps me because I hold my phone, I'm scrolling. I'm not really looking at the reels. My mind is looking for something. I can just see something and then I'm like, yes, this is it. And then I go and pen it down. But if you look at me through the lens of hustle culture, you will say, man, this guy is wasting away his life. He's not doing anything until when you see me working.
Results.
It's when you see me applying those things that I've learned. You'll not be like, when did you learn all these things? Oh, I learned it through my routine. So what does that mean? Like, the overview of all of these things, right, is that hustle culture has lied to us. Hustle culture has lied to us. What hustle culture really does is that it tries to fit everybody into one routine. No rest, no sleep, not 100%, always, moving, motion. I must see you doing some activity. I must see you, it's like someone says hello to you. To say hello back is difficult because you are activity, motion, all of that.
Activity, not
Not
belief.
everybody is going to function that way.
True.
Not everybody is going to function that way. So what helps is for you to actually sit down and look at what it is that your original design and blueprint, what it nudges you towards, and then you look for a routine around that. Now, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else.
True.
So long as it helps you to get to a place of premium productivity, that is your routine. In the same way of the lion. If the hyenas look at the lion's lifestyle, they'll call the lion lazy. Because the hyenas are always moving around. Always. The hyenas are always moving around. The monkeys are always swinging from branch to branch. Monkeys are very hyper. So, monkeys are very hyper. They're always moving around. Always moving around. But the lion is not built that way because the lion has very specific tasks that require high level energy. So consequently, it needs a lot of rest. Its features have been defined, and a system and a routine has been built around that.
True.
You get what I'm saying? So that's why you can't look at somebody else's blueprint or somebody else's routine and then say, because before I came to this conclusion, it used to bother me a lot. I don't do 9 to 5. So there are times where I sit down and be like, am I wasting my life? Like, see people going to work, coming back, they're on this project, they're all of that. I'm here. And when you ask me, Frank, what did you do today? Hey, I studied. I'm like, what are you studying for? It's like, what exactly are you studying for? Why are you, okay, what does it translate to? What does it translate to? On a lot of days, I'm not even sure what it translates to until I am required to come and work. Until I'm brought in to come and speak or to come and share insights or wisdom. That's when you realize, I see. So this entire time that it looks like you've been lazing around, these are the things that you've been gathering. It is the same way you will look at when a lion is hunting and you will marvel. You say, how is the lion so ruthless in the way that it goes about this chase and all of that? When you then see it the next day resting, you'll be like, well deserved. And now I understand your routine. So that's basically it.
True. So the hustle culture thing, we cannot overemphasize how that has warped everyone to fall in line.
Yeah.
And success is not determined by someone else's metrics.
Yes.
Not yours.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And the flip switch of it is that people complain you're not doing, when they now see your results, they now start screaming and start going to look back. And I have this conversation a lot when it comes to actors and actresses in movies. And they see somebody, for example, with an AMVC or they win an award and all of that. And they're like, or a particular movie blew up and everyone is talking about it. And I'm like, this guy has been around for, this woman has been around for 10 plus years. oh, I didn't know them. Then you will see a movie from 7, 8 years ago that they were there. You did
Yeah.
not. The problem was not them
Them.
not putting in the work. The problem was you not
You and
identifying.
your understanding of what hard work looks like.
Looks like made you focus on the person that it felt like had proven their worth. Because it's always about proving your worth. Had proven their worth for you to pay attention to their hard work.
Yeah.
Which is something I want to talk about next, which is you talk about stewardship. People should do the work that is needed for the present because it's going to determine their performance in the future, which is something I believe in. But a lot of people that are going to watch, a lot of people in different, stages of their life that are waiting. Because that waiting point is one of the biggest problem I see, especially with your ability to deliver value in any shape or form, whether in your 9 to 5 business, life, family, everything. You're waiting for a big contract. If I just get this contract, I will finally do the work. If I just get this big break, I'm waiting for the right moment. And they expect that when that moment comes, when they now need to get serious about building, which is counterproductive.
Yeah.
What's your thought process on this?
Look, only one thing guides me when it comes to stewardship. The hallmark of stewardship is multiplication.
True.
If you give me something and I preserve it, and on the day that you ask for it back, I give you in the exact way that you gave me, I'm not a proper steward.
True. Story of the time.
If I'm a proper steward, that thing must look better than when you gave it.
True.
That's what stewardship is. Again, like I said earlier, me, it's from scripture that I get these things, right? So there's a parable of the talents.
Yeah.
The master gave one guy 5 talents, gave this guy 2 talents, gave this one, and then went on a long trip. And the guy who had 5 traded. The guy who had 5 traded with his and got doubled what he was given, meaning he had 10. Then the guy who had 2 traded with his as well, doubled it, now he has 4. The guy who had 1 went to bury it